So that usually happens in the first year to 18 months. And then after that, after they learn how to walk, then they can kind of trot. And by the age of 3, their personal power, they can learn how to run away from mom and dad who are trying to catch them. I'm going to put you to bed. Come on, no, you can't catch me. You can't catch me. I remember those days. So, after 7 years, most of the chakras are integrating themselves into the development of the body. And then we have to talk about the 3 aspects of the soul. The 3 aspects of the soul, there's the feeling self, and there is the reasoning self, and then there is the higher self. The feeling self comes in around the age of 4, and it settles in a space right behind the heart, right behind the 4th chakra. Not in the 4th chakra, but connected to it. And the feeling self, it will take experiences and put an emotion to them, the 2nd chakra, and start to create memories. A lot of people don't have memories in those first 4 years, or if they do, they're very sporadic. My earliest memory was when I was learning how to walk. There was 4 steps down from our front porch to a walkway that would take us to the driveway. And I can distinctly remember, and still see it very clearly, that there was a hose laying across the walkway. And as I got to the hose, I thought to myself, oh, that was there yesterday. I tripped over it. So I have to be sure to walk over the hose and not trip. And I did. So that was my earliest memory, and that was at about 18 months old. I don't know, maybe 8 months old. So there's not very many memories in those first 4 years that we can recall. There are some, but there's not very many. It's not like you could remember what happened last Tuesday if you even knew what Tuesday was at that point. So the feeling self is it will take experiences and make associations, cross-reference with other experiences, good, bad, neutral, that kind of thing, and file away all these memories, and it learns how to navigate through its environment. The reasoning self comes in around the age of 7. Between 7 and 14, the reasoning self is developed, and this is more analytical, logical. It can learn rules, learn how to behave, and it also cross-references with what the memories are from the feeling aspect of the soul, the feeling self. And it will accept and it will make rules. It becomes very analytical. And it's developed between the ages of 7 and 14. This is kind of the time when the imagination has less of an interplay with what's going on in the world, and it's more structured living. The higher self is in the 8th chakra. It maintains that soul essence color that the baby being chose from the rainbow. It sits above the head, about 18 to 24 inches above the head, up in the 8th chakra. Um, and it's like the North Star, the guiding light, the God of your heart is there. And around the age of 7, we talked about in the different chakras, the abilities therein. We had clairsentience in the 2nd chakra, clairaudience in the 5th chakra, clairvoyance in the 6th chakra. Knowingness in the 7th chakra. And these things can get programmed out or influenced out. You might have imaginary friends when you were up to the age of 6 or 7, and then those imaginary friends kind of fade into the background, or they're kept secret. If a child up to the age of 6 to 7 can see auras and see beings and ghosts and spirits, that ability is kind of, we're programmed to kind of not use that anymore. Probably because our parents can't use it. But even then, I knew of many psychic children that, in fact, there was a school for psychic children at the institute where I did my training. And a lot of those children, when they became teenagers, they thought that all this clairvoyant stuff was kind of, there's a better way of living. Now, the higher self, it just kind of hangs out over the head, and being the directing force, it will never get in the way. The feeling self, the reasoning self, and the higher self, they can all act independently, and a lot of times they do. Your heart says you want to do one thing, and your head says no. The reasoning self, it is behind the 6th chakra, at just above the cerebral vortex, in the analyzer. We'll get into that in another episode as well. Most decisions are made on an emotional level. Major decisions are made on an emotional level. And then you have to think about it, analyze it, figure out how you're going to, let's just take the instance of, I need a vacation. Okay, the feeling self is agreeing on that. The reasoning self is agreeing on that. The higher self is agreeing on that. The feeling self says, I want to go to Hawaii for a vacation. And then the reasoning self will say, I don't know if we want to go to Hawaii. Maybe it's something else we want to do. Maybe we want to go to Europe instead, or perhaps we should go to the Caribbean, or I've always wanted to go on a safari down in Africa. And how are we going to pay for this? And when are we going to do this? How are we going to do this? Are we going to do it by ourselves? Do we want to go with other people? And the higher self is like, hey, I'm all aboard. Whatever you guys want, let's do it. You guys decide. But the heart and the head don't always play well together. If there's a break in the body-being communication, the feeling self might just give over to the reasoning self. You make the decision. Prior to the age of 4, most of the decision making or the following is given up to a trusted adult. A parent, a grandparent, aunt, uncle, family member, older siblings at times, babysitters, all those that they feel that they are the leaders. They'll just follow the leader. And let's do a little story. This time, once upon a time, instead of no time. The feeling self and the reasoning self were out in the yard, and the feeling self says, "Hey, let's play ball." And the reasoning self says, "Yeah, that sounds like a great idea." So, and the higher self is in the kitchen, looking out the kitchen window, just watching these two aspects of the soul playing. That knows that they're safe, everything's fine. The feeling self takes the ball and just, instead of hiking it, the reasoning self says, take the ball, you hike it to me, and then you run, and I'll throw it to you, and you catch it. Sounds like a plan, right? So the feeling self takes the ball, he just picks it up, starts running around with it. And the reasoning self says, "Wait a minute, that's not what we said. Come back here." And so he's laughing and coming back and puts the ball down. He says, "No, this time you hike the ball to me, and then you run, I'll throw it to you." And okay, let's try it. Takes the ball and picks it up and starts running with it. And the reasoning self says, No, I'm being left out of this game. This isn't fun for me. Come on now, let's come back here. Gets the reasoning self, or the feeling self, back. Let's try it again. The feeling self hikes the ball and just starts running. The reasoning self goes to throw the ball, but he can't. The feeling self isn't turning around to receive the ball. Finally, after exasperation, the feeling self and the reasoning self are not on the same game plan. So the reasoning self says to the higher self, looking at all this going on, "Can you help us?" And the higher self says, "Absolutely, positively." Comes outside and stays outside of the playing field for now. Explains to the feeling self, it works best if you hike the ball, run, and then turn around and to catch the ball. "Oh, I get it. Yeah, that's fine." And it says to the reasoning self, "Now you have to take the ball and wait for him to be open, and then you can throw the ball." "Yeah, that sounds great. And so they try it. Feeling self hikes the ball, starts running. The feeling self waits for him to open. He turns around, throws the ball. The feeling self catches it. Yay! They make a touchdown. Woohoo! And the higher self says, "See, that's how you play. Isn't it great when the three of us play together?" The feeling self in the heart, the higher self in the brain, and the higher self still outside the body. They asked Jesus, what was the greatest commandment? He says, the first and greatest commandment is to love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your soul. When these three aspects of the self are in communication, wonderful things can happen. The intentions that the being started out with, the spirit started out with, can be remembered and worked through and worked on, and you got heaven on earth. So those are the three selves. By the time the reasoning self has been pretty well integrated, those next 7 years, from 7 to 14, different levels of the chakras start opening up. The first and second chakras start opening up with the sexuality. That's why girls go into puberty right around the age of between 7 and 9, closer to 9. Boys a little longer, but they start getting those emotional urges around 7 and 9. The personal power, having responsibilities, doing chores, cleaning up after themselves, getting along with other family members, becoming a dynamic in the family unit. That happens in these between 7 and 14. The imagination is there, and it's guided by the intellect, the logic, the analyzing. And by 14, the whole dynamic of a soul in the body is pretty well set. And this is why around the age of 14 in Catholic religions and Catholics, Episcopalians, Methodists, etc. Around the age of 14, they have their first communion, and they go to catechism class, and then they have their first communion around the age of 14. Age of 13 to 14, the bar mitzvah, the bat mitzvah happens in the Jewish culture. These ceremonies are a validation of and a blessing of that spirit in a body to have free communication with God, with the God of their heart. And right around the age of 14, that reasoning self is pretty well developed, and that young adult will start looking around and saying, hey, these rules don't fit me. I want to find my own independence. I want to act on my own. I want to set my own rules. And with guidance, they can do that. And sometimes they do it without guidance. Well, it all depends on their life experiences so far and what they're into. They might not be inclined to be searching for their spiritual path yet. But they start to become more independent, and between 14 and 21, by the time they reach 21, they're mature enough that they can start acting on their own. We can't vote until we're 21, and there's a reason for that, because prior to that, you might not have the life experience, the education, or the wherewithal to be able to make a decision that might affect you for the rest of your life. Although you can go into the armed forces around the age of 18. They figure that you've developed enough to be able to take commands and follow through on them, follow the rules, and get along with your other comrades. And for a lot of states in the United States, the legal drinking age is 21. There's a reason for that, because that's when you're developed enough to be a decision-making adult. Pretty much be able to call your own shots, make mistakes, learn from them, and it goes on and on. Every 7 years, they say that the body regenerates itself. Every cell in the body has been replaced by new cells. So this body that you have right now, different body than it was 7 years ago, 8 years, 10 years. And as you get older, you start to realize that, the body does regenerate itself. Maybe not as well as you would like it to, but anyway, so that's the pretty much the development of a spiritual being in a physical body. end this by saying that near the end of the life, some things can happen if a person passes naturally from natural causes. There are some conditions that can happen with the chakras. Chakras will get overloaded, start closing down. If 3 or more chakras in the body close down, it's a condition known as going into a coma. And that's what a coma is, when 3 or more chakras are closed down. This is, people go into a coma and they come out of it. They've gone out to the astral and reevaluated everything. They did a little spiritual self-evaluation and decided that they were going to continue on, and this is how they're going to do it, or they don't. At the time of death, of a physical death, 3 or more chakras will shut down. The being will either go out the top of its head or out the 3rd chakra, out the 7th or the 3rd. Those are the exits of the body. And when it goes, it kind of corkscrews out. I've seen this happen. I have seen the passing of the spirit from the body into heaven. And it's quite phenomenal to see that spiraling. It just looks like a little tornado heading out, and it pulls all the information up and out of the chakras as much as it can. And it continues to do this. As it continues to do this, the body will disintegrate, dust to dust. When Jesus did this, he started pulling the information out of each of the chakras, and it started to unravel so quickly that it went boom, and the whole body went boom, and it actually left a image on his burial cloth, the Shroud of Turin. At that point, there's a whole nother dynamic that happens in heaven, and but the soul looks back on that lifetime and looks at the initial color that it chose for this lifetime, in this example, light blue, and it sees how much of that light blue it has accomplished, when it accomplished it, how it accomplished it. And it goes into the Akashic Records. When a soul has attained that color masterfully and has experienced itself as that aspect of God and brought that out into the world, and it was a complete and total success, then that blue ring will turn gold. And it's a golden lifetime. Now, in the beginning of all of this, there was an inheritance. When a baby is conceived, it inherits the father's DNA, and it also inherits the mother's DNA and God's DNA. So from the beginning, the God's DNA is the kingdom of heaven. And we'll have to do a whole episode on that. But your inheritance that you're waiting for in this lifetime, it's already happened. You have all the information, you've had all the experience you need in order to fulfill the purpose of your being here. I hope this has been a fun and entertaining, maybe enlightening little discussion of the life cycle of an incarnate being. If it is, then please feel free to like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments if you would like more information on any aspect of this little discussion. Leave them in the comments. I will be sure to read them and either respond to them directly there in the comments, or else I will create a different episode just on the comment section. All right? Well, it's a beautiful day here. I think I'm going to go enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy your day as well. And we will talk with you at a later date and time. Go with God.